Hey there, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to show you how you can create a growl generator in Serum 2 from scratch, and you can get sounds like these out of this. And you can also download this patch for free in the description. And let's just start from scratch, I would say. First, let's select a new wavetable which already has some grittiness going on. I'm just going to Serum 2 tables, then digital. I think there was a growl one already in there which kind of had some nice grit going on. Softest growl. You can see we already have some movement going on when we just modulate the wavetable position. And the most important thing to create a generator in Serum 2, which is now possible, is to use the random LFOs. We have the sample and hold LFO modulator here, which is new, this one. We also have the chaos patches, Chaos Lawrence and Chaos Rosler, which are even crazier, but I would recommend using the sample and hold randomization LFO for this kind of use case, because that's a little bit more controllable, I would say. And the visual feedback is also a little bit better when you don't get behind the Chaos Lawrence or Chaos Rosler LFOs. So let's use the sample and hold LFO and just drag it onto the wavetable position. And now we have the position to just smooth it. So it gets randomized over time. And we can also just change the rate here. I would just recommend to set it to hertz. So we have some even more not planned results because it's not quantized anymore. Maybe around 2, I would say. And the only thing you have to do in the MIDI clip or just as an automation is a pitch automation. Let's just do that really quick. Of course, you could also use the master pitch for the pitch randomization, but I will just draw it by hand so it's a bit more predictable. Something like that, for example. The shape actually does not matter. Just need some movement going on. And next, I would just use a different second oscillator, like a sine wave, for example. We can just use basic shapes, or we could just use the default shapes here. And just mute the level and just select maybe FM, which is the actual FMing now. And get some more grittiness by adding this. And we could also just randomize it, so it's getting a little bit more grit when it's being modulated. We can now also use a second randomization LFO to just modulate the level, so we get some defined growls out of there and not just a mud pie which continues without any volume differences. We'll just use the sample and hold LFO again, and I will just put it onto the level, and then we get some movement going on here. Would also recommend setting this to hertz. Later we could even go crazier and modulate the rate of the random LFOs with a random LFO, which could be really, really fun. Let's add some distortion now. And let's also change this to a sine wave. And also add some slight soft saturation here. Now we basically have the foundation for our growl. Next, we will just use a filter here. And make sure this is going through filter 1, pi 18, some resonance, some drive. We'll just automate this, and I would also use this one for this automation. Even go a bit higher here. Maybe like this. And then we can also go into the FX section now and start adding more filters. The growl sound really comes with filtering and compression and distortion. Let's just stack a bunch of different filters for this. Notch filters usually work great. Sometimes I noticed that the pitch bend automation gets a reset, which is really, really weird. And we'll also just automate this. Then maybe some distortion next. And then we will add some compression. Of course, multi-band compression. Also increase the rate here. Let's also make sure the pitch bend automation isn't going too deep. And let's just add another filter, just modulate it. We can copy over the notch filter again without the additional drive, I would say. Then we also have to apply the LFO again. And next I would add a phaser. Let's automate the frequency. Maybe even the feedback slightly. So we get some nice more phasing movement here. And we can put it wherever we want into the check. Let's copy the compressor. And another time. And now you can already hear that it's getting that grittiness. It's really fun. I would also maybe turn down the mix here and also let this being randomized by a different sample and hold randomization tool. And maybe every bar, smooth. We get some nice variation over time. Maybe even a little bit less of the mix. Let's also make sure to add another filter. Let's do that before the final compressor. Get some more distortion in here. Now you can hear we have that nice growl sound. In order to take this a little bit further, we can now use a splitter for the lows and for the highs, and we can just decide to what extent the lows and the highs are being split, whether it's a little bit more in the mid-range or just in the highs, and we'll just apply some additional processing to the highs to get them a little bit more crunchy. After this, I would just add a distortion. So you don't lose that tonality of the growl in the lows and in the mids by distorting it too heavily. And now I would just try different distortion types. This one works. Maybe we could add another filter here, like the new diffuser filter. We will add that in order to smooth up the high end a little bit. Without. And with a little bit less mix. And we can also use this type of filter at the beginning. Just fine-tune some parameters here. And I would also add some hyperdimension to give it some more space. And we could also just do it on the highs, for example. And on the lows, or on the mids and lows in this case, we could also add some stuff, maybe like an additional compressor. Now we got a really nice and filtered growl. Of course, in Ableton you could add some erosion later to give it a little bit more grunt. In the end, I would just use another distortion and use soft clip. Turn up the volume. So the signal is basically being clipped. Disable this diffuser here. Let's delete that actually. Just mute it. Because I think kind of ruined the tonality. But yeah, just try out different filters which might sound good. So I've just noticed that I forgot one thing which is crucial to growls, which is a bandpass filter. I always forgot. I was wondering why it was sounding a little bit different than I usually do the growls. We'll also modulate that. But actually reduce the FMing slightly. I think this sounds really nice already. just bounce it to a new track. And here we go. You have made yourself a GROWL generator with infinite results. And if you're looking for these kind of patches where you are getting random results every time, I've actually made a whole Serum 2 presets library with 25 patches in total. And some of these are using this generative technique, like for example this reese bass. Every time you re-trigger, the sound sounds a little bit different because of the randomization I've been using here. We also have some other cool sounds in here, like the yelling kit generator. Alien noise generator. Also another GROWL generator. And you can get infinite results out of this. Also a tearout gun generator. I've already made a video about that if you want to see how I made that patch. But you can just get it by buying the pack I've made. And also for the melodic people, I've made some patch generators, like the standard patch generator and the vocal patch generator, where you can just import a melodic sample or a vocal sample of your choice, and even some synth sounds. And if you are looking for these kind of sounds or some Serum presets in general, make sure to grab that pack. It's 6.99 euros, and you can get it €1 cheaper if you use the code SPECTRAL in capital letters, and you can just support me by purchasing it. It would really support me a lot. And if you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments below, and see you in the next video and the next stream. Thanks for watching. Goodbye. See you. Bye bye.